Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Rita from Craftsfullymade, and in today's tutorial I will be showing you how to sew up my pattern, the Luna Sling. This is such a fun sling that I have designed to showcase and highlight all those amazing webbings that we have all been purchasing. So in the front you have your front vertical zipper pocket with that cool webbing accent. And of course, you do not have to do a webbing accent. If you want to do a fabric, I have included instructions in this video on how to sew the fabric accent. In the front, you also have a slip pocket with a magnetic snap. The back, there is also a zipper pocket. In the back, you have a D-ring holder. And I have designed this so that there is no need for that extra unnecessary D-ring. You have your snaps and you choose which end you want your D-ring on snap and just move your D-ring to that end. Just like that. At the top, you have your zipper panel and inside there is another slip pocket. We will be finishing up the sling using binding. And for your stripe, you're using a webbing. So the front pocket can either slant to the left like this one or to the right like this one. So depending on how you want to wear your sling, you can choose which direction you want your slant. And I have included pictures with instructions in a PDF to help you accomplish that. For this sling, as you can see, I've also used a fabric accent. So there are so many ways you can customize this sling to make it your very own. Timestamps are in the description below. So if you need to skip to any step in this process, just click on that link and it will take you directly to that step. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started. In this section, we will be working on fusing and prep. First, you want to fuse woven interface into all your core cotton pieces. Then lay your front and back exterior pieces along with one of your strap connectors, wrong side up. Draw lines 1/2 inch down from the top raw edges. Add your Dickerville light right below those lines, center from the sides and fuse. If you use a cutting machine to cut out your pieces, the zipper cutouts on the back exterior and your Dickerville light will have already been cut for you. So to fuse your Dickerville light to the back exterior, just place that on top of your back exterior and match up your zipper cutout and fuse. Then for both your exterior zipper panels, along with your exterior gusset, you want to lay those pieces wrong sides up. You want to measure and draw a line 1/2 inch in from one of the short raw edges and place your Dickerville light right below those lines, center from the sides and fuse. Now for your D-ring holder, you want to place that piece wrong side up and draw a line 5/8 of an inch away from one of your short raw edges. Add your Dickerville light right below that line, center from the sides and fuse. All right, if you did not use a cutting machine, you want to cut out the zipper cutout on your back exterior. So you will place your pattern piece on top, so lay your fabric piece wrong side up, place the pattern piece on top, draw out your zipper cutout, and then use a scissor or rotary cutter or an X-Acto knife to cut out the zipper cutout. Afterwards, if you prefer, go along the raw edges of your zipper cutout and edge coat them. At this point, you want to mark the centers on some of your pieces. For the front and back exteriors, along with the interior linings, you want to measure 4 inches in from one of the long edges. Mark the centers on the bottom and the top. Then you want to measure up 5¼ inches from the bottom raw edge and mark centers on the right and left side edges. These two center marks, the right and left side edges, will be your gusset seam center marks. And I like to mark my centers on the front and the back of my pieces. For both the exterior and interior zipper panels, you will fold these pieces in half and mark the centers. For your webbing, what you can do to prevent those edges from unraveling is to use a lighter and just burn those raw edges. If you were using fabric for your upper contrast, you want to lay that piece wrong side up, draw lines 3/4 inch in from both long edges, add double-sided tape at those long edges, and fold those long edges to the lines you drew. Once that's done, you will set this piece aside until it's time to be added to the vertical zipper pocket. In this section, we will be prepping the strap connector, D-ring holder, and your webbing stripe. For this section, you will need the strap connectors, D-ring holder, your webbing stripe trim, and your webbing stripe. To prep your strap connectors, you will place both pieces wrong sides up. Draw lines 3/4 of an inch in from both long edges. Add double-sided tape to those long edges and fold those long edges to the lines you drew. Afterwards, you will draw a line 3/4 of an inch down from the top raw edges and add double-sided tape at those top raw edges and fold those edges to the lines you drew. Now put both connectors wrong sides together, aligning the edges, and clip the hole in place. Then take the steel machine and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from your long edges. But before you go to top stitch, if you have a key fob plier or a hammer, you just want to flatten the buck here at the top. To prep your D-ring holder, you will lay your piece wrong side up. Draw a line down the center away from one of your long raw edges and add a piece of double-sided tape over that center line. Then you will fold both long edges to that center line. Afterwards, you will turn your piece to the right side, take to your machine, and top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from both long edges. Once top stitching is done, you will draw lines 1/3 inches in from both short raw edges and punch hole directly in the center of those lines for your utility snaps. To prep your webbing stripe, you will grab the strap trim, lay that wrong side up, draw a line down the center away from one of your long raw edges. Then you want to add double-sided tape at those long edges. Then grab your webbing stripe and you want to lay one of the short raw edges directly below that line and fold your trim down. Then take to your machine and you want to top stitch around the trim at a 1/8 seam allowance. And we're done prepping the strap connector, D-ring holder, and our webbing stripe. In this section, we will be working on the vertical zipper pocket. For this section, you will need the exterior right panel and its lining, the exterior left panel and its lining, your vertical zipper pocket backing, your 5.5 inch zipper with a zipper pulley attached, and your upper contrast. You also want to have on hand your paper pattern piece for the vertical zipper pocket backing. Now place your exterior left panel right side up and add double-sided tape at that right raw edge. Then you want to lay your zipper wrong side up, aligning the bottom edges and making sure your zipper pull is pointing to the top. Now you want to add double-sided tape at that long edge of your zipper. Remove the backing from your double-sided tape and you want to place your interior left panel wrong side up, making sure to align your edges. Now take this to your machine and sew the zipper to your left panels at a 3/8 seam allowance away from this long raw edge. After you're done sewing, you want to pull the exterior lining away from the zipper, wrong sides together. Finger press at that fold, clip to hold in place. Take this back to your machine and tap stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that folded edge. With tap stitching done, you want to leave your piece right side up and add double-sided tape at that zipper long edge. Place your exterior right panel wrong side up, making sure to align the bottom and the zipper edges. Now flip this over. You want to add double-sided tape at that long edge of the zipper. Now lay your interior right panel wrong side up, aligning your edges. You want to take this to your machine and sew your zipper to your right panels at a 3/8 seam allowance away from this raw edge. After you are done sewing, you will pull the exterior and lining away from the zipper, wrong sides together, exactly like you did for the left panel. Finger press at the fold, clip to hold in place, and take back to your machine, tap stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that folded edge. Once you're done tap stitching, you want to grab the zipper pocket backing, the pattern piece. You will place that on top of your assembled zipper pocket, align the bottom and side edges, and then just trim at that top raw edge. Once you're done trimming at the top, you want to grab the vertical zipper pocket backing, lay this piece right side up. Place your assembled zipper pocket on top, right side up. Align your edges, clip to hold in place, take back to your machine, and baste all around at a 1/8 seam allowance. If you find that your backing piece is a little larger than the assembled zipper pocket, just go ahead and trim that off. Next, you want to leave your piece right side up and draw a line 3/8 of an inch down from the top raw edge and add a piece of double-sided tape at that top raw edge. Then you want to grab your upper contrast and you will lay this piece right side up directly on that line. You want to make sure as you're laying this piece down, you're aligning from the left edge. There will be an overhang of the upper contrast and that is fine. Do not trim that off. Take this to a machine and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that bottom long edge of your upper contrast. After top stitching is done, you want to fold your piece in half, aligning the bottom edges, and then mark the center at the bottom. And we are done with the vertical zipper pocket. In this section, we will be working on the exterior slip pocket and finishing up the front exterior. For this section, you will need the completed vertical zipper pocket, your exterior slip pocket lining, the front exterior, one of your interior linings, and your magnetic snaps. You also want to have on hand the pocket template. First thing you want to do is to transfer the snap placement mark onto your exterior slip pocket lining, if you haven't done so already. So you can either use your paper padding piece to transfer that mark, or you measure up from your bottom edge 6 inches and measure in from one of your side raw edges 4 1/4 inches and place the mark for your snap placement. Turn your piece to the wrong side and you want to draw a line 3/4 of an inch down from the top raw edge and add a piece of double-sided tape at that top raw edge. Then you're going to fold that top edge to the line you drew. Now you want to grab the completed vertical zipper pocket and you will place this wrong sides together with the exterior slip pocket lining. As you do so, you want to make sure you're aligning the side edges. And then at the top here, you will align the upper contrast with the top of your exterior slip pocket lining. On the sides here of your upper contrast, there will be an overhang and that's okay. So I'm going to turn this over like so and make sure those side edges are aligned. And as you can see, as I'm aligning the side edges here, there is that overhang of the upper contrast, and that's fine. And then we'll just clip this to hold in place. As you come to the other side, there is that overhang, again, of your upper contrast, and that's fine. And this is how this should look at the back. Your upper contrast with the overhang on both sides. Now turn to your right side. Take this to your machine and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that top edge of your upper contrast. Do not baste or around your piece at this time. Just top stitch at that top edge of your upper contrast. With top stitching done, you want to trim the exterior slip pocket lining at the sides and the bottom if needed so that it's even with the pocket piece. But do not trim the sides of your upper contrast, okay? Do not trim the sides off just yet. So if the lining piece it's a little longer than your pocket piece, you can trim that off at the sides and the bottom. But like I said, do not touch the sides of your upper contrast just yet. Okay, so now this is our front pocket piece. What we want to do next is to grab the pocket template. We'll lay this on top, making sure to match up our center lines and align the bottom edges. Do not worry about the top edges if they're not aligned. Your pocket piece might be taller than the template, and that is okay. So just make sure you're aligning at the bottom. Okay, now what we want to do is to trim our pocket using the template as a guide. So we will be trimming the sides and then rounding the corners at the bottom. Do not trim at the long edge of your upper contrast. You're only trimming from the sides and rounding the corners at the bottom. All right, so this is how that looks at the front and at the back. As you can see, the sides of the upper contrast, they're not even with your pocket. Now it's time to add the middle portion of the magnetic snap. So turn your piece over to the wrong side, grab your washer, and you will place that over that center mark and draw out your 2 slits. Once that's done, you will use a scissor or a seam ripper, and you want to cut out the 2 slits just through the exterior slip pocket lining. At this point, you can also cut out those 2 slits in a Decave Heavy or something similar to use as stabilizer for your snaps. Grab the middle portion of your snap and you'll push the prongs through. At the back, you're going to add your Decave Heavy over the prongs, add your washer, and fold your prongs down. At this point, I will also add a piece of duct tape over my snap just to protect my fabric. Okay, we are done adding the middle portion of our magnetic snap. Now grab your front exterior, you'll lay this piece right side up. Place your pocket piece on top, right side up. Match the centers at the bottom and clip just at the bottom to hold in place. And as you can see, your front pocket angles out on the sides, and that's okay. Now you want to pull back on your pocket, and you want to use a marking tool. And I use the Tandy Leather silver marking tool for this, but you can use chalk also. And you just want to mark that point of your milled magnetic snap. What we're trying to do is to leave a mark on that snap so that when we push this pocket down, it's going to leave a mark on the front exterior. And I just want to lay that back down, push a bit on that snap to transfer that mark. All right, remove your front pocket piece. And now is the time to add the female portion of our magnetic snap. You just want to follow the same steps we did for the male portion. So just follow the same steps to install the female portion. All right, the female portion of our magnetic snap is installed. Grab your front pocket piece and you will snap this onto your front exterior. And you want to align at the bottom edges first and clip those to hold in place. Now you want to bring the sides of your front pocket piece in so that they're aligned to the sides of your front exterior and clip to hold in place. So there are two main reasons the front pocket piece was designed to angle out in the first place and be larger than the front exterior. One, it gives your pocket a little bit more depth. Two, it allows your pocket to stretch and lay nicely on your front exterior when your sling is done. If the pocket was the same size as your front exterior, what's going to happen is it will pull your front exterior in. But that little width we give will allow that to stretch and fit nicely on your front exterior. So then what you want to do next is to transfer your bottom center marks and your gusset seam placement marks to your front pocket piece. Then you will take this to your machine and you want to baste your pocket in place at a 1/8 seam allowance. All right, now grab one of your interior linings and you're going to place this wrong sides together with your front exterior piece. Clip all around, take this to your machine and baste in place at a 1/8 seam allowance. And we are done with our exterior slip pocket and the front exterior. In this section, we will be working on the interior slip pocket. For this action, you will need the interior slip pocket, the slip pocket trim, and the other interior lining. Now place your interior slip pocket wrong side up. Draw lines 3/4 inch in from both long edges and add double-sided tape at those long raw edges and fold those edges to the lines you drew. Once that's done, you want to add double-sided tape at that top raw edge and then fold your slip pocket in half wrong sides together. Next, you want to grab your slip pocket trim, place that piece wrong side up, and draw a line down the center away from one of your long raw edges and add a piece of double-sided tape right below that line. Now you want to lay your slip pocket down with the raw edge right below that line you drew. Then you want to add double-sided tape at that top edge of your slip pocket trim and fold the trim down. So before I fold my trim down, if I remember, this is where I will add my label. So just right here on that slip pocket. Now take your piece to your machine and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that bottom edge of your trim. And afterwards, you just want to cut the extra trim that's on the side so that it's even with your pocket. With top stitching done, you want to grab your interior lining, lay this piece right side up, and you will measure down 4 inches from the top raw edge and lay your slip pocket down right side up. And as you place your slip pocket down, you just want to make sure you're centering from the sides. Clip to hold this in place, and you'll take this to your machine and sew around the 3 sides of your slip pocket at a 1/8 seam allowance. And we are done with the interior slip pocket. In this section, we will be working on the back zipper pocket and the back exterior. For this section, you will need the back zipper pocket, the back exterior with the zipper cutout, the interior lining with the slip pocket, the D-ring holder that was prepped earlier, the strap connector that was prepped earlier, your 7.5-inch zipper with a zipper pull, your utility ring snaps, and your D-ring. Now lay your zipper right side up and add double-sided tape at both of those long raw edges. Then grab your back exterior and you'll place this right side up on top of your zipper, making sure your zipper is centered within that opening. Turn this to the wrong side and add double-sided tape to that bottom long edge of your zipper. Now lay your back zipper pocket wrong side up, aligning one of the short raw edges to that bottom edge of your zipper. And as you're placing this down, the long edge of your back zipper pocket will be facing to the top. Flip this to the right side, take to your machine, and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that lower end of your zipper cutout. You want to start about 1/8 of an inch away from where the zipper will close and end 1/8 of an inch from where the zipper will end. Do not backstitch. You want to leave long tails to pull to the back and tie off. Top stitching is done, and I have pulled my threads to the back and tied those off. Leave your piece wrong side up and add double-sided tape right below that stitch line. Then pull your back zipper pocket down and finger press at that fold. What this double-sided tape does is to stick your pocket down. Because we are not top stitching through the pocket here, it's going to hold that down so that it does not pull up and be cut into your zipper. Now you want to add double-sided tape at that top long edge of your zipper. Bring the other end of your back zipper pocket up and align to that end of your zipper. All right, now turn this to the right side, take to your machine and top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance around the other 3 sides of the zipper cutout. You want to start at the last stitch, go up, stop, pivot, sew across, stop, pivot, and sew ending in that first stitch. Top stitching is done, and I have pulled my threads to the back and tied those off. Next, you want to pull your back exterior out of the way and sew down the sides of your zipper pocket at a 3/4 inch seam allowance to close your zipper pocket. And you will do the same on the other side. Afterwards, you will trim the seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch. All right, with the back zipper pocket done, now it's the time to add the D-ring holder to the back exterior. So grab your D-ring holder, you're going to fold this piece in half and mark the center. Now you want to measure up 1.5 inches from the bottom raw edge of your back exterior, and you will place your D-ring holder directly above that line. So one thing you want to be mindful of is your zipper pocket. We want this piece out of the way because we're about to punch hole in the back of our piece, and we do not want to punch hole in the zipper pocket. All right, so we're just measuring up 1.5 inches from that bottom edge of our back exterior. Place the D-ring holder directly above the line, matching up your centers, and then using the marking tool, you want to transfer those holes to your back exterior. All right, now you want to remove your D-ring holder and punch the holes on your back exterior. Again, make sure your zipper pocket is out of the way. All right, so now is the time to install the post and stud portion of our utility ring snaps. So here is the stud portion. And we'll place this piece from the wrong side. We'll just pull that through the hole from the wrong side. And then on the right side, you will add your post. Take this to your press and set your snap. And then just repeat for the other side. Okay, we are done installing the post and stud portion of our utility ring snaps. Now we need to install the cap and socket portion of the ring snaps. So grab your D-ring holder, and here is your cap of your utility ring snaps. You'll come from the front, so the right side of your D-ring holder, push that through to the wrong side. Grab your socket, place that on top, take to your press, and set your snap. And then repeat for the other side. All right, with your cap and socket added to your D-ring holder, you want to grab your D-ring and thread that onto your D-ring holder. Then you want to snap your holder in place to the back exterior, and then just trim up the sides here so that it's even with your back exterior. Next, grab your strap connector and you want to fold this piece in half and mark the center at the bottom raw edge. Leave your back piece right side up and place your strap connector right side up, aligning your raw edges and matching your center. You just clip to hold this in place. So as I place my strap connector down, I want to make sure it is centered from the sides. So what I do personally to make sure that is the case is to measure from this end of the zipper cutout. So that end, I'll measure from there to here at the side of the strap connector, and then do the same on the other side. So from here to there. Now I'll make sure those two measurements are the same. And if they're not, I'll just adjust my strap connector until the measurements are the same. Once you're satisfied with the placement of your strap connector, you will grab your interior lining and place it wrong sides together with your back piece. Align your edges, clip to hold in place. Take this to your machine and you want to bist all around at a 1/8 seam allowance. Once you're done bisting all around, on the wrong side, if your strap connector pokes out a little bit, just trim that off. All right, we are done with the back exterior. In this section, we will be working on the zipper gusset. For this section, you will need both the exterior zipper panels and their linings, the exterior gusset panel and its lining, the 15.5-inch zipper with the zipper pull attached. First, you want to lay one of your exterior zipper panels right side up and add double-sided tape at that top long raw edge. Now you want to fold your zipper in half and mark the centers on both sides. Then you will lay your zipper down wrong side up, matching up the centers and aligning your raw edges. And as you do so, you want to make sure your zipper will close to the left. Then you want to add double-sided tape at that top long edge of your zipper. Now you want to lay one of your interior zipper panels wrong side up on top of that zipper, matching up your center and aligning your edges. Now take this to your machine and you want to sew the zipper to the panels at a 3/8 seam allowance away from that top long raw edge. Next, you want to pull your exterior and interior zipper panels away from the zipper, wrong sides together. Finger press at that full clip to hold in place. Take this back to your machine and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that folded edge. Once that's done, you just want to trim off the extra zipper tip at the side so that it's even with your panel. With top stitching done, you want to leave your piece right side up and add double-sided tape at that top long edge of your zipper. Then you want to place the other exterior zipper panel wrong side up on that zipper, matching up your centers and aligning your edges. Now turn your piece to the wrong side and you want to add double-sided tape at that top long edge of your zipper. Now lay the other interior zipper panel wrong side up, matching up your centers and aligning your edges. Then you will take this to your machine and sew the zipper to your panels at a 3/8 seam allowance away from that top long raw edge. Next, you want to pull your exterior and interior zipper panels away from the zipper, wrong sides together. Finger press at the full clip to hold in place. Take this back to your machine and top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that folded edge. Afterwards, you just want to trim your zipper panel down to 15 1/4 by 3 inches. After top stitching and trim your zipper panel, you want to leave your piece right side up. Add double-sided tape to one of your short raw edges. Place your exterior gusset panel right sides together, aligning your short raw edges. Turn your piece over and add double-sided tape at that short raw edge. Then you want to lay your interior gusset panel right sides together with that interior portion of your zipper panel, making sure you're aligning your raw edges. Now you want to take this to machine and sew at a 3/8 seam allowance away from the short raw edge. Next, you want to pull your exterior and lining away from the zipper panel wrong sides together. Finger press at that fold, take to your machine and top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that folded edge. Once you're done top stitching, something I recommend you doing, and this is optional, but I highly recommend you doing, is to double check that the exterior and lining at this end, that they are even. And that's because I've had instances where my lining was shorter than the exterior. So when I loop and went to bist, I have pleats in the exterior. So now I double check just to make sure these two ends are even. All right, so now what you would do is leave your piece right side up and add double-sided tape at this short end of your zipper panel. Now you want to bring this other end of your exterior gusset panel and lay right sides together, aligning your short raw edges. Then turn your piece around and you want to add double-sided tape at that short raw edge. Bring your lining and lay that right sides together, making sure you're aligning your short raw edges. Take to your machine and you want to sew at a 3/8 seam allowance away from that short raw edge. So you want to pull your exterior and lining away from your zipper panel, wrong sides together, finger press at that fold. Take this back to your machine and you want to top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from that folded edge. After top stitching, you just want to go around and baste your long edges in place at a 1/8 seam allowance. After basting around your loop, you want to fold your piece in half and match up your gusset seams. Then you want to mark the center on the zipper panels and on the gusset panels. And we are done with the zipper gusset. All right, guys, let's finish this sling. For this section, you will need the completed front exterior, the completed back exterior, your zipper gusset, the binding, the webbing stripe, some rivets, your adjustable slider, and your swivel hook. First, you want to lay the completed front exterior right side up, and then turn your zipper gusset wrong sides out and lay on top. You want to make sure your zipper panel is at the top and your zipper will close to the left. Now you want to lay your zipper panel right sides together to the front exterior, matching up the centers at the top, the gusset side seams, and the bottom, and clip to hold in place. Then you want to go around and ease the corners to the front exterior. And as you do so, you might want to make little snips into the gusset to ease into place at the bottom here and sometimes at the top. One thing I highly recommend is using these mini staplers to staple your piece, especially at the corners, so that they do not shift as you go to sew. Once you're done clipping, you will take this to your machine and sew all around at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just be mindful of your staples if you use them. And remember to remove them after you are done sewing. Once that is done, you want to look your piece over and make sure your edges are even. And if they're not, just go around and even them out, because that's important for the next step, which is adding the bias tape. Grab one of your bias tape, unfold one of the short raw edges, add a piece of double-sided tape at that short raw edge on the wrong side, and fold your edge down to about 1/2 inch. Now take a look at your bias tape and you'll see these 3 creases. The first crease here that is away from this right long edge measures 3/8 of an inch from that long edge. The seam allowance we're using is 3/8 of an inch. So as we lay this down, you want to sew following your crease all the way around. Now you want to lay your bias tape wrong side up about 1.5 inches down from that gusset seam. And as you do so, you just want to make sure you're aligning your edges. So you would do this clip all around to hold in place. As you come to the end here, you just want to leave the end unclipped because we will trim that down slightly before laying that over the starting point. Now you take this to a machine and you want to sew following that crease, which is a 3/8 seam allowance all around. And as you come to the end, if this is a little bit longer, you just want to trim, lay that down, and finish sewing. Once that is done, you want to pull your bias tape over to cover the raw edges, and then you'll clip to hold in place. All right, so this is important. As you are folding your bias tape over, you want to make sure your prior stitches are being covered. So just like that. And if you need to, it's perfectly okay to trim your piece slightly to ensure the bias tape will cover those prior stitches. And as I came to the corner, I noticed my folded edge was not covering my stitches, so I'm going to trim a little bit in the corners. Once you're done clipping, you want to take this to a machine, and with the gusset side up, you want to sew out a 1/4 inch seam allowance away from that edge. And as you can see, I am using contrasting thread just so you can see what I'm doing. But I highly recommend matching your thread and your binding to your fabric. That way, if there is any mistake, it is not going to be noticeable. This is not the time to draw attention to your binding unless you're super awesome at it. Then sure, use contrasting thread and binding, but I would recommend matching your thread and your binding to your fabric. All right, this is how that looks at the front. And here is your bag. All right, now you want to follow the same steps to attach your exterior bag to the zipper gusset and the binding. Next up, you want to turn your piece right sides out and make sure to poke out your corners. Okay, we are almost done. So now we want to add the webbing stripe to our sling. So leave your sling right side up. You want to take your webbing, the short raw edge. Remember we added a trim to this webbing. You want to use the short raw edge. You're going to push this through the opening we left in a strap connector. And as you're pushing this, you want to make sure your webbing is right side up. And you want to push about 1 inch of that short raw edge through. Then you want to take this to your machine and top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance away from this folded edge. Afterwards, you want to measure 3/8 of an inch down from the top folded edge and punch a hole directly in the center of that line and set your rivets. Alright, once you're done top stitching and adding your rivet, you want to add your webbing to your adjustable slider and your swivel hook. You want to make sure your webbing is not twisted. Then grab your slider and you're going to come from under over that bar and out through the other side. Grab your swivel hook and you would thread that onto your webbing. So now you want to grab that end and you're pretty much going to follow the exact same path, under, over, and then through. So I'm just going to push this out and that just makes it easier. So then your webbing goes through the hole furthest away from you over the bar and back through that hole that is closest to you. I'm just going to hold that against that loop at the back and then tug at my webbing so that it's flat within that slider. Now you want to make sure that end of your webbing is against the back loop, okay? Because you have your swivel hook, this is the front of your loop and that's the back, and you want that end to be against the back. So I'm going to hold that and just test out my webbing to make sure it's adjustable. Now you just want to tug on that back loop so that that end of your webbing is about 1/2 inch away from the slider. And you just want to tug, make sure your end of your webbing is against that back loop. Then you will clip to hold in place and then measure 1/4 inch in from both short raw edges and then punch a hole directly in the center and set your rivet. And that's how that looks with your rivet set. All you have left to do now is to decide which end you want your D-ring. So you're on snap, pull your D-ring to that end, and place your swivel hook. And there you have it. All right, so very quickly, I want to go over an optional step on how to ship your sling once you are done. What that means is you will roll your seams and then add clamps. And I recommend adding something between your clamp and your sling just to protect your fabric. And even with that being added, I will tell you that the clamp does leave marks sometimes, but it goes away after a while. So you just roll your seams, go all the way around and clamp, and leave this on for a couple of hours and take it off. So you do this for the front and the back. Another option, if you do not want to use clamp, is to stuff your bag overnight. So loose fabric, or I've even heard people use balloons. Just put that in, push out your seams, and then you'll just leave this overnight. So yeah, those are 2 steps that are totally optional, but they do help to ship your bag. And we are done. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you had a blast. Comments below if you have any questions or concerns, or shoot me an email anytime.